Hey guys, Jared, Transformational Coaching, Action is Transformation. In this video, we're going to get into why you might need, desire, or have a deep inclination towards having a relationship with another person. I know for me in my own life, there's been various times where I wanted to be in relationship with another, and ultimately when I look back at that, it always came down from this desire to be seen, validated, or to be loved. And when I explored that on a deeper level, I started to notice that those are all things that I could give to myself. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you how to give that self-love, what actually happens to your experience of life in other relationships when you give yourself that initial need and desire, but then also why so many individuals perceive that desire to be outside, or that need for love, why they think that's outside of them, and how we can actually give it to ourselves and what that actually looks like played out in real time. Let's get into it. A lot of individuals say that relationships are hard, or they're tricky, or that they take a lot of time and energy, and that's true to a certain extent. However, ultimately every relationship we have in our life, whether it's business, romance, friendship, whatever it may be, comes down to having our own needs met. And a lot of times we just don't understand what our needs are, and we don't know how to communicate our needs. We'll get more into that a little bit later on in the video. However, the reality of it is once we understand what our needs are, we can ask ourselves this great question: can I give myself those needs? Why do I have to look outside of myself to give myself care, love, affection, attention? We were born into this world alone and independent, and children have this natural amount of vibrancy, exuberance, and joy when they first come into the world. And that's why so many adults love them, because they think they're so cute, and they see, oh my gosh, look at this baby, it's so loving, it's smiling all the time, it's just happy. It's infectious to be around a child who's really happy all the time. That's our natural state. That's who we really are. But somewhere along the lines, when we grow up, we get conditioned to only express certain parts of ourselves that society says is appropriate, or that our family says we can only express this part of ourselves, but these needs and desires, no, those are shameful. So as we grow up, what happens is we learn to push ourselves down in different areas of our life because our culture said it wasn't proper or acceptable, or our family members said it wasn't proper or acceptable to ask for certain needs to be met. And a lot of the times what happens here is we start pushing ourselves down and to fit in the environment, and then that makes us feel sad, or makes us feel hurt, and makes us feel empty on the inside, and then we go searching to fill that void within us out there in the outside world. Sometimes we search for love, sometimes we search for attention in a career, whatever it may be. But ultimately, what happened there is we're looking for something outside of ourselves, when that's something that you can actually give to yourself. Many of the times we just don't know this, or we don't have mentors, coaches, people in our lives to share, to tell us that, hey, look, all these things that you desire, you can actually give to yourself, just so you know. And so what we do is we unconsciously go out there in the world looking for validation, or looking for something to give us that sense of love, or that sense of attention or connection and care that we can't, or never were shown how to give ourselves. So I'll give you a perfect example of this. I was coaching an individual the other day, and they really had a really deep desire to create an incredible amount of wealth. And I've been in that space before, and so I asked them, I said, what's that really about? Why are you trying to create all this wealth? And they said, well, I just want to be seen. Like, I want to be seen as this type of person. I want to be perceived this way. And as we untangled that more and more, they finally realized that they never felt seen as a child by their family. They never felt seen or noticed by their community. They never felt seen or noticed by even their brothers and sisters growing up. And so once we went into the pain of that, and they allowed themselves to see that deeper part of them, suddenly it was like all those desires fell away, and they felt so much more fulfilled and secure within themselves. So they learned through the coaching to give to themselves what they had always wanted. And that's the great thing about this work is we can give ourselves what it is that we truly want. We don't need to look out to the outside world to validate us or to give us love or care or affection or all these things that we think we want. We can actually give that to ourselves. So if you're looking for self-validation or attention, those are all things which is mostly what a lot of relationships come down to. It's, oh, I just need to be loved right now, or I just need to be held, or I just need to be cared for, or I just need to cry on your shoulder. Like when we just give all those things to ourselves, you'll see that you really don't actually need anyone else outside of you. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to create that with another human being, but ultimately, you can give all that love, that self-validation, that care, that sense of being seen to yourself. There's this amazing study that was done on millennials recently, and it blew my mind, but it said that more than 250,000 millennials would quit their jobs in exchange for fame. So they would leave their jobs, whether it's being a lawyer or doctor, whatever job they have, they would quit that just to be famous. 30% of millennials would rather be famous than become a lawyer or a doctor or something like this. 1 in 10 millennials would choose fame over a college degree, and 1 in 12 millennials would cut out their own family to become a household name or to become famous. So you're seeing this emphasis on the younger generation. You're seeing this emphasis on being seen and being validated by society, even at the cost of family relationship. What is that actually saying? It's saying that we're not actually individuals aren't getting the attention or desires or level of care and love from their families in the first place, so they think that the outside world can give that to them. In fact, I've coached a couple of famous people now, but I won't tell you who because I told them there was an NDA signed. What I've seen with some of the most well-known people that I've coached is that their drive to be seen by society stems from their early childhood woundings of not being seen in childhood for who they truly were. And so there's this interesting correlation between not feeling loved, not feeling seen, not feeling heard or visible by the initial family that you grew up in, and how much you want to accomplish and create out there in society. There's a direct proportion between the two. Every time I've coached an individual and I've truly been able to see them for who they are, and they finally feel that sense of being validated and being seen, their whole being just calms down and gets more settled, and they learn to enjoy life. They learn to enjoy relationship. They learn to enjoy what it means to be human much more, because now they've been seen. That part of them that's been longing to be seen and validated and heard by the world finally gets its validation. So all relationships that we have in the world, we've set up for ourselves, whether it's business, romance, or friendship. We use them as a means to have our needs met. Once we realize that we can meet these needs ourselves, we can see ourselves, you'll suddenly see how life gets reflected back to you. And I was coaching one individual just a couple weeks ago who they were in this really serious relationship that meant a lot to them, but there was a lot of strife. They were going back and forth. Both were complaining that they weren't meeting each other's needs. And so I asked them, I said, well, what if you just gave your partner some space, took some time off, and spent 2 weeks just alone with yourself? Right now, you're on a break from work because of the virus, and just spent 2 weeks alone with yourself. And ironically, when they did this, she came back to me after those 2 weeks, and they found that they were much more loving and caring and compassionate with each other because they both gave to themselves what it is that they needed. And when we give to ourselves what it is that we need, we're no longer expecting that from another person. And when we're no longer expecting that from another person, we don't get mad at that other person when they don't give it to us. And then you can create space for a real beautiful relationship to unfold, one that's based off of mutual interdependence, not codependency in any ways. So you don't really actually need anyone else outside of yourself as long as you know how to give yourself what it is that you're really looking for, and knowing what your needs are, and then being able to ask for your needs from yourself but also from other people, is a struggle in and of itself. It took me years, decades to learn how to do that. So we have this built-in mechanism to be self-sustainable. It's a human being's natural inclination to be happy, to be secure, to be content with themselves. This is our true nature. This is what babies come into the world super happy, laughing, and enjoying themselves, and the only times that they cry is when they need something. It's that simple. So in order for us to get back to ourselves and be self-sustainable, all we have to do is ask ourselves, what is it that we need? What is it that we really want, and can we ask for those wants and needs? And can we actually give those needs and desires and wants to ourselves? And if so, what's the point of actually needing or being in a relationship? A couple, I've noticed this too, a couple who perceives there not to be enough love in the relationship will try to bring something else into the relationship to distract themselves from the fact that they're not giving each other the love that they need. And some people do that with the children, and then they place these unconscious expectations on children to fill the voids of the relationship that aren't there. And then unconsciously that child will take on that responsibility and live out the hopes and dreams and desires of the parents. That's a really messed up way to deal with it. What we could do is instead is just understand what it is that we need, ask ourselves what it is that we need, and then give it to ourselves, or ask for our needs to be met by another person in relationship instead of trying to bring children into the mix. I have this theory that all children, and people sometimes get upset about me over this, but all children are brought into the world because parents, there's not enough love in the relationship, or it's the exact opposite. There is so much love in the relationship that they want to share that love with another human being, because when we feel good, we naturally want to share that feeling with someone else. It's usually one or two. Either people bring children into the relationship because there's not enough love and the children will become the new thing that they can bond over, or they have so much love that they want to share that love with something else, and that's where the child comes into play. It's usually one of the two. That's all I got for this time. Thanks for joining me, you guys. If you like what you've seen here, please share and subscribe. Share with any family members. I'd love for this work to go out in the world. Also, I got a lot of great free resources down there below. I do live coaching twice a week with Laura. If you'd like to sign up for live coaching, check out the link in the YouTube description box below. If you're watching this on Instagram, it's above. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. I'll see you next time. Have a beautiful day.